Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely shatter the illusion of the rational consumer. We're going to reveal how the modern economy is actively exploiting your brain's outdated software. Because according to the research we're reviewing today, the financial systems, marketing departments, and banks you interact with every single day, they are fully aware of your psychological vulnerabilities, and they are aggressively leveraging them to their advantage. Ask yourself, right now, are you really making logical choices? You probably look at your bank account and think you're in total rational control of your financial life. But the sources we're unpacking today argue that, in reality, your brain is a buggy piece of hardware. It is being hacked. Every single day, we're just blindly responding to ancient survival instincts that absolutely do not serve us in the modern financial world. So what are we actually dealing with here? Well, cognitive biases. Think of these as literal brain glitches. They're powerful chemical signals and deep-rooted marketing myths that essentially trick you into making deeply irrational financial decisions. While you think you're making a smart move, you're actually falling prey to decades-old psychological exploits that are silently draining your wealth. Today, we're running a quick diagnostic scan on 4 specific malwares in your system: the asset illusion, the safe money trap, the momentum bias, and the authority bias. Let's get these patched. All right, glitch number 1, the asset illusion, also known as the housing glitch. This whole glitch relies on that golden rule we've heard since kindergarten, that a home is the absolute ultimate safe investment and the cornerstone of a successful life. But look at the reality check here. 50 years ago, back in the 1970s, a single income could easily buy a house. That was the classic American blueprint. Today, in 2025, it's a completely different universe. Wages are practically crawling, while home prices have absolutely exploded. And why? Because Wall Street and massive institutional funds treat single-family homes exactly like high-growth stocks. They're buying up entire neighborhoods, meaning regular buyers are getting totally priced out of that old version of the dream. Here's the trap. The high is that massive, exhilarating dopamine hit. It's that warm feeling of security, the perception that you've officially made it because you finally hold the keys to a mortgage. But the come down? It is harsh. The sobering reality is that your so-called safe asset actually becomes a massive liability. You're hit with constant maintenance, property taxes, and interest payments, basically locking you into a grueling, multi-decade financial climb where your cash is completely trapped. So, how do we patch this bug? The source material lays out 3 actionable steps. First, stop treating your primary residence like a high-growth stock portfolio. A home is a place to live, it's shelter, not the S&P 500. Second, you've got to look at alternative wealth-building strategies. Think about acquiring equities or building businesses that actually generate cash flow instead of just locking up all your liquidity. And third, study how the wealthy actually operate. They use a strategy of borrowing against their assets to multiply their wealth. Instead of selling an asset and taking a huge tax hit, they use their portfolio as collateral to secure low-interest credit, buy even more assets, and let the original golden goose keep growing untouched. Moving on to system error number 2, the safe money trap, or the savings glitch. This one plays perfectly into our biological desire for loss aversion, tricking you into hoarding cash just because it feels secure. But let's look at the actual math here: $1.8 million. If your version of being rich is just having basic stability, the sources point out that playing the average Joe long game, just saving a tiny fraction of your paycheck in a standard account, takes an agonizing 40 years just to hit a net worth of $1.8 million. And let's be real, in today's economy, waiting 4 decades just to scrape that together is definitely not yacht money by the time you're 65. It's just a remarkably slow path disguised as a safe one. Here's the harsh truth. Money only works when it represents something real. Inflation is essentially a giant printing press that actively dilutes the value of every single dollar you've worked so hard for. When governments print massive amounts of currency, absolutely everything else gets more expensive. So that cash sitting idly in your traditional savings account, it's literally shrinking in actual purchasing power every single day. The numbers might look the exact same, but what those numbers can actually buy is evaporating. And this creates a super dangerous psychological trap. The high gives you this totally false sense of security. You open your banking app, look at your balance, and feel perfectly comforted seeing that the number stays exactly where it is. You haven't lost anything on paper, but the jarring come down is the silent reality underneath. Your stagnant cash is actively bleeding value. It can't buy the same groceries it could a year ago, and it is absolutely not making you any richer. The patch for the safe money trap is simple, but man, is it urgent. Step 1. You have to internalize that inflation is movement.
The economy is not static, it's constantly expanding. Step 2, to survive this constant dilution, your wealth needs to move into vehicles that compound faster than the government can print currency. You cannot just sit still while the economy moves past you. If the money supply is growing at 5% a year, your wealth needs to be growing at 6% or more just to tread water. We're talking index funds, real estate, hard assets, things that actually capture the value of that newly printed money, rather than being destroyed by it. All right, glitch number 3, the momentum bias, better known as the gambler's glitch. This vulnerability plays right into the exhilarating thrill of winning. It tricks your brain into thinking you suddenly possess some kind of magical intuition and just cannot lose. It's an irrational mindset perfectly described in the sources as summoning dark forces to bend probability to your will. You see this vividly when a gambler turns $100 into $1 million, hitting 13 blacks in a row on the roulette wheel. In that one electric moment, they feel completely invincible, like a wizard who has fundamentally cracked the mathematical code of the universe. The high here is undeniable. It is pure, blinding intensity. You feel electric and absolutely unstoppable. But the brutal come-down crashes hard, because guess what? Probability doesn't have a memory. The roulette wheel doesn't remember the last 13 spins. The house always has the mathematical odds stacked against you over a long enough timeline. And we see this exact same bias absolutely crush retail day traders who get wiped out chasing short-term volatility on their trading outs. They mistake a lucky market swing for their own genius and eventually lose it all simply because they can't walk away from the rush. To patch this exploit in your programming, you need a massive psychological shift. You've got to transition from chaotic, short-term trading to disciplined, long-term investing. And yeah, this is incredibly difficult because trading gives you a huge daily dopamine hit, whereas true investing is remarkably boring. You need to stop betting on what a specific stock or the market will do tomorrow or next week. Instead, bet on the long-term, decades-long growth of human productivity. By completely ignoring the daily noise, the terrifying headlines, and those flashing red and green charts, you effectively starve the momentum bias of the emotional rush it needs to survive. Take the emotion out of the math. Finally, we've reached our 4th bug, the authority bias, affectionately dubbed the NPC glitch. This glitch is our innate human tendency to follow the NPC blueprint, rules created by someone in a suit or a clever marketing campaign that we just obey without a second thought. For instance, think about the deeply ingrained cultural belief that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. The source points out that this wasn't based on human biology. It was a wildly successful marketing campaign by a cereal company that simply wanted to sell you more cornflakes. And this perfectly extends into our financial lives. We're told to do exactly what our managers say, grind away at 2 jobs, save our pennies, and never eat out. We follow these scripts blindly, totally trusting the authority of the system. The high is feeling like a perfectly obedient, disciplined student of the system. You get a pat on the back from society, your parents, and your boss for following the rules and staying perfectly in line. But the devastating come down is the terrifying realization that you've traded the absolute best years of your life. You've sacrificed your vibrant, energetic youth for a promised retirement and a theoretical freedom that might only arrive when you're literally too old or too tired to actually enjoy it. Your final countermeasure, the ultimate patch for this societal glitch, involves 4 aggressive steps. First, brutally question the entire blueprint you've been handed. If a financial rule sounds like a platitude, investigate who actually profits from you following it. Second, learn to leverage debt strategically. Poor people use debt to buy liabilities like big screen TVs. Wealthy people use debt as a tool to acquire cash-flowing assets that pay the debt off for them. Third, you must develop a one-of-one skill. Combine your unique talents into something so specialized that you cannot be replaced by an algorithm. You become undeniably valuable. And fourth, start actively playing the game. Become the architect of your own reality, rather than just passively existing as a chess piece following rules set by someone else's marketing department. So, what's the big takeaway from this explainer? Your brain's hardware is built for ancient survival. It's not built for navigating the incredibly complex, highly manipulated, algorithmic 2025 economy. But by recognizing these 4 specific biases for what they are, you can absolutely update your software. You can step back, rewrite your internal code, and make strategic choices that actively benefit your future self, instead of blindly padding the pockets of your future creditors. We've run the diagnostics, we've patched the bugs, but the system is always evolving. If you want to keep upgrading your operating system, let me know down in the comments what hidden mechanics of life, money, or psychology should we expose next. Keep questioning the blueprint, and I'll catch you next time.